Jake Turner had always believed in doing the right thing, no matter the consequences. As a skilled mechanic working in a small Kansas town, he had built a reputation for being honest, hardworking, and never turning down someone in need. On a rainy Thursday evening, just as he was about to close the garage for the night, something unexpected happened. An ambulance pulled in rapidly, its engines smoking and coughing. The sirens had stopped, but the urgency in the eyes of the EMTs said it all. Jake rushed toward the vehicle, surprised to see medics frantically trying to keep someone alive in the back. "We've got a critical patient. We were en route to the hospital, but the engine failed," one of the medics shouted. Jake didn't hesitate. "Pop the hood," he called out. "We don't have time to wait for another vehicle," the driver added, clearly panicked. Within seconds, Jake was under the hood. Tools flying from his belt pouch, the engine was overheating, and a cracked fuel line was spraying gas. It was dangerous, but Jake didn't flinch. His hands moved with a calm urgency, bypassing the damaged line and redirecting pressure with an old clamp and tubing. Within minutes, the engine roared back to life. "You've got just enough power to get to the hospital. Drive fast, but careful," Jake said as he slammed the hood shut. The EMTs didn't even have time to thank him properly. They jumped in and sped off, leaving Jake covered in grease and rain, but satisfied he had done the right thing. But the next morning, everything changed. Jake's boss called him into the office. "I got a call from one of the city officials. Said you tampered with an emergency vehicle." "I didn't tamper," Jake defended. "I repaired it in a crisis. There was a patient in critical condition." "I don't care if it was the president himself," the boss snapped. "We don't touch government property without authorization. That's policy. You're fired." Jake stood in stunned silence. The very hands that had saved a man's life were now empty, jobless, and betrayed. Packing his things later that day, Jake felt a pit in his stomach. He thought of the man in the back of the ambulance. Had he survived? Did the repair make it to the hospital in time? No one had called. No one had thanked him, and now he was without a job in a town with few opportunities for mechanics like him. His friends sympathized, but most advised him to keep his head down next time. "You did the right thing," they said, "but sometimes the right thing comes with a price." Jake wasn't sure what the future held, but one thing he did know: he wouldn't regret his decision. Not for a second, because in that moment it wasn't about rules or policies. It was about saving someone's life, and that, to Jake, would always be worth it. 3 days had passed since Jake was fired, and though the sting of injustice still lingered, he tried to keep his head up. He applied to a few repair shops in neighboring towns, but none were hiring. The whispers around town grew. Some saw him as a hero, others as reckless. Jake didn't care much about the opinions. He just needed a job. One afternoon, as Jake stood outside the grocery store handing out business cards for odd jobs, a sleek black SUV pulled up in front of him. The driver, dressed in a sharp suit and wearing sunglasses, stepped out and approached him. "Jake Turner?" the man asked. "Yeah," Jake replied, cautious. "You're needed at the Northside Medical Facility. Someone wants to speak with you, now." Confused and curious, Jake agreed. He followed the SUV and his beat-up truck until they arrived at the hospital. The driver escorted him through the front doors and up to the private wing on the 3rd floor. There, waiting behind a glass wall, was a sharply dressed older man hooked up to machines, surrounded by doctors. "You're the guy who fixed the ambulance," the man said as Jake entered the room. Jake nodded slowly. "That was you in the back?" The man chuckled. "Indeed. If it weren't for your quick thinking, I wouldn't be standing here today. The doctors said a 5-minute delay would have cost me my life." Jake was speechless. "I'm Ethan Briggs," the man continued, "CEO of Briggs Automotive. I built one of the largest vehicle manufacturing companies in the country, and I owe you my life." Jake was still trying to process everything when Ethan walked over and handed him a sealed envelope. Inside is a formal job offer. Head of Emergency Vehicle Engineering Division. You'll work directly under me. Full salary, benefits, and a relocation package if needed. Jake blinked. "You're offering me a job?" "I'm offering you a purpose," Ethan said. You saved lives because you chose action over rules. That's the kind of mind I want designing and maintaining emergency fleets across the nation. I need people who care more about saving lives than checking boxes. Jake opened the envelope and scanned the offer. It was more than he had ever imagined. 6 figures, relocation options, full health care. He looked up, still stunned. Why me? Ethan smiled. Because real heroes aren't the ones who wait for permission. They're the ones who act when it matters. Tears welled in Jake's eyes. After everything he had been through, the firing, the public judgment, the uncertainty, he was finally seen. Not as a troublemaker, but as someone who mattered. He shook Ethan's hand firmly. I accept. That evening, as he sat in his small kitchen with his toolbox still on the counter, Jake smiled. Life had changed overnight, not because he chased reward, but because he stayed true to his values. And now he would use his skills on a larger scale, all because he helped someone without expecting anything in return.